Excellent, thank you. Today is a rather special day. We have two speakers, actually three speakers, and what the idea or the premises for this meeting is kind of a roast. Now, for those of you that don't know what a roast is, this is something that they used to do. Gosh, I remember it was Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Jerry Lewis, all these old TV stars. And what they would do is on one night, they'd get all dressed up and they would roast one specific person. If it was Frank Sinatra, then all these stars showed up and they would kind of give little digs and punches at the main person that was getting roasted. In the end, you can say something nice or sweet about the person, but you didn't have to. And these comedians would come out with knives and daggers and just kill some of these people that were getting roasted. It was always, every time I saw this on TV, my dad was there and he says, you have to watch these guys. And I would sit there and watch them, and that's probably where I get all my comedic relief, is from these old-time comedians where their punchlines were quick, sharp, their timing was impeccable. And so what we'd like to do today is something that we did probably about 3 years ago when it was my birthday. Phyllis said, let's roast Louisa. And I was so afraid and scared and nervous because I remembered all the roasting back from the 1960s and 70s on TV. However, it couldn't have been any better for my birthday. It was amazing. Phyllis had some crazy things to say, which I loved. Paul also gave me a watch, and I thought, wow, that's really nice. He said, well, yes, because you're always late. Maybe with a watch you'll show up on time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was impeccable. It was great. It was really good. So what we'd like to do today is, by suggestion of the guest of honor, Frank Salazar, it was his birthday, June 19th, which is Juneteenth, and what he wanted us to do as members of the club is roast him. Now, I have something prepared. Phyllis has something prepared. If any of you want to say anything else about Frank, you're more than welcome to. He will also get a few minutes to give a rebuttal speech according to his doings. Let's go ahead and hand this over to Phyllis Allen, our first speaker. Phyllis Allen.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. I'm entitling my speech with Happy Birthday with Love, because I don't want him to not love me when I get through with this. Hooray! Hub City Toastmasters has a guest. His name is Francisco, who needs a rest. I said to myself, this must be an elf from some other planet, or even a shelf. Francisco, do you have any eyes at all? You spoke with your eyes on the floor, I recall. Your voice was not heard, your lips were moving, my ears were in action and not approving. As your speaking improved, and your humor too, we became enamored with the likes of you. You shed a tear when you thought I was gone. I shed one too, for your being so fond. You really fooled us, you stinking devil, with your art, your stories, your friendship and smart. Speaking or eating, talking or not, Francisco Salazar, you are hot. And I'm giving you a framed copy of that, so I know that you will want to.
Would anyone else like to come to the floor and say anything about Frank? Good or bad? No? Oh,
I can try.
Lloyd is raising his hand.
I'll let Lloyd first. So I can copy you.
Oh, yeah.
I can copy the style, but I know what I'm going to say.
Okay. Mister, shall we be frank? No, we'll be ourselves. So beware, Frank. So, I want to know if you put in your, what makes you an Esquire, which I've seen on your template, and are you Frank or are you Francisco? Now, what we'd like to see is a characterization with your cartoonish type art, possibly, that you could create Francisco, B. Frank, or Frank the Esquire. So I will look forward to some perspective in art of Frank, Miss K. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lloyd. I believe Griselda, do you have something to say?
Yes. Miss Toastmaster, I remember about 7, 8 months ago, this person showed up to the meeting, to the Toastmaster meeting. As Phyllis says, his voice was low. He was looking down. He was kind of stiff. But as time goes by, he changed. Or probably he showed us who he really is. Why does Francisco has such an interesting personality? He developed his own style. He did not copy anybody. In 8 months, he has held pretty much every position in each meeting, and he's commanding the meeting. Why is Francisco taking so much charge and improving so much? And why are these meetings kind of empty when Francisco is not around? Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Very good. I'd like to go ahead and give my speech on Frank. For those of you that don't know me, I work and love with dogs. Many of you may not know that, but ever since I retired, I started working with homeless dogs, shelter dogs, dogs that are on the street. But enough about me. We're here to talk about Frank today. And exactly what Lloyd was saying about the name Frank. See, it's Frank before you cross the inspection, the checkpoint line in Falfurrias. If you were in Austin, you would be Frank. But since you've crossed the checkpoint and you're here, it's Francisco. Now, if you cross and go to Mexico, you're Pancho. Okay? So, for right now, I'm going to just address you as Francisco. So, one thing I wanted to know, Francisco, is you were born on June 19th. That's for black people. Why weren't you born on Cinco de Mayo? What's wrong with you? Why would anybody be born on June 19th when they could have been born Cinco de Mayo? I'm going to question your loyalty a little bit there, Francisco. So, wait a minute. Frank. That's actually my dog's name. Oh, I love my dog. He's 75 pounds. He's husky, shepherd mix. Got a nice full coat, a lot of hair. Not like this Frank. But anyway, I love my dog. Now that I think about it, Frank, do you know my dog? You're not related, are you? Because it's Frank and Frank? No, okay, all right. I was just checking. You know, I do remember one time, Frank, when he was a little puppy, he was so cute. He had piercing blue eyes. Anyway, so we went for a little ride, and I rolled down the window, and he jumped out of the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I panicked, but he was okay. Wait a minute. Frank, didn't you just jump out of a car? Yeah, okay. Huh. Wow, that's so ironic. But I do remember also, because he jumped out of the car, a car that was right behind us came and hit my puppy. He was fine, of course, but wait a minute. Frank, weren't you hit by a car? Yeah. Oh my, wow, this is kind of really odd. Well, my dog, oh, come on in. Now, my dog doesn't like to drive, and Frank, you don't like to drive either, right? This is kind of scary, the similarities here that I'm starting to see. But you're probably wondering, wow, here you are, Luisa, comparing Frank to your dog, Frank. But you have to understand that I absolutely love dogs. I love to take care of them. I love to nurture them. I love to train them. They're just everything you can be. They're so loyal, they're so dedicated, and I really like that. And I guess the reason that I'm comparing my dog Frank to Francisco here is because I really love and care about Frank the way I would any other human being. If you would have seen him again, like Griselda said in the very beginning, He walked in, his head was down, he mumbled, his shoulders were slouched, he was very quiet. You couldn't hear him or understand him half of the time. And for some reason, just like you're able to train a dog or train anything, Frank, with the guidance, which is what a lot of people do not do, you can give someone the right tools. You can tell them this is what you need to do to improve, to grow, and most of the time, they won't do it because they don't think they need that or they don't think they can benefit from it. But Frank, with the right guidance and the love and the nurturing and caring that we've given him, is now such an amazing speaker. He's great. He's fantastic. Again, Frank, you should have been born on Cinco de Mayo. Thank you anyway. I love you from my heart. We will now have a rebuttal from our honoree, Francisco.
President, Toastmasters, what can I say on this day of my 45th birthday, which actually was June 19th, like Luisa said, a black holiday, which I didn't even know anything about, but apparently now, even my 10-year-old said, "Oh, that's Juneteenth, Dad." I'm like, how do you know? I barely found out like 2 weeks ago what it was. When I walked in, as everyone was saying, I was very shy. I keep to myself. I do have a group of friends at church. And the reason I walked into this meeting because I was challenged by my mentor, Orlando Salinas, when I asked him, how do you become a leader without having a title? And he said, be a public speaker and go to Toastmasters. So I walked in, quiet, I didn't know anyone, and I just reverted to how I used to act, which is just stay to myself. Once I walked in, day one, I could tell these are a group of people that will challenge me. Now, Fearless, I found out, has the nickname Pushy Fearless. And I like to attest, that is 100% true, because when I am leading one of the meetings, she's pushing me to introduce other people, to do this and do that. And Phyllis, it's my time. It's my time to shine right now. I love Phyllis. As she was saying, when we thought we lost her, I did shed a tear. I was worried. I was concerned. I see Phyllis and also Luisa, who has the best dog that I have ever heard of. He has the best name ever. I see these two ladies as mother figures. Luisa may be a crazy aunt. I think we do have something in common because she was also not hit by a car, but she was hit by an 18-wheeler. 2 18-wheelers. And I just want to say I love my time here. I love learning from everyone, seeing the faces here, people that just came out to support me, and everyone on Zoom land. And I think it's fantastic, and I'll be a Toastmaster for as long as I can manage.
Toastmaster, thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Today I brought a gift for the group. The gift for the group started out as specifically for Frank, specifically for Frank's roast, more importantly, so we could get it on camera and watch it over and over again and laugh. But I wanted to give it to the group so that we could all watch our speeches as we progress and continue to see the improvement that we do on a daily basis. That's the reason why I brought the camera to the.
Oh, very good.
Go
Thank
for it.
you.
Go short. Thank you. Yeah, very short, very short.
Toastmasters and men and women. I came here because I Frank is a friend of mine, and he has been interesting character. When I first met him, he was like you said, He was very and looked very down on himself, and I was hoping to help him, and I believe I have. Not sure, but I think I have. I've been working with Frank for about 8 years, and when he asked me about improving and what he can do to improve himself is what he asked. Immediately, I thought of Toastmasters, and I said, and I remembered you two guys, and I said, man, these people are there to help you, and I said, just do it. I'll pay the fees. I'll do because I like helping people. That's what I do. That's what I live for. That's what I breathe. That's what I eat. I like helping people. And if I could help Frank, most people look at Frank and they don't think much of him. They don't because of his character, because of who he is, because he doesn't have much communication skills. He doesn't have, he doesn't easily make friends, and so it's hard for him. So I befriended him. I said, you can be more, you can have more, and you can become more if you simply choose to. And that's why I was hoped he would grasp even more as he came and learned how to speak and had a bit more confidence in himself. And so I'm glad to see him here. He looks very different, and this is how you need to learn to dress, Frank, all the time. And I think you're going to go places if you keep on moving forward. I'm very proud of you. I think you're going to be an amazing man if you just move forward. Just keep moving forward. Stop looking back and move forward. And so I wish you well.
Thank you, sir. Angie, are you there?
Angie.
Hello.
Hello, great. Yes, would you like to give us a short table topic on whatever topic you like?
Sure.
Great, 1 to 2 minutes.
Are you Frank's kid?
Yes, she's.
Am I Frank's kid? No.
Well, the reason I asked is that the drawing.
Oh, because of the drawing.
That's funny.
I am the daughter of everyone and anyone that feels like they need to adopt a very stubborn, creative, yet quirky, empathetic, really psychotic, almost sociopath level Smurf. So if you guys are in the game of adopting Smurfs, feel free, give me a shout, give me a call, email me, text me. I am open for business. Frank was actually one of the few crazier than me crazies. And when we met on Instagram through art. We're artists on Instagram, and there was just a connection there. I feel that Frank is very honest, very sincere, and that's the kind of energy and people that I like to surround myself with, because as an artist, I have enough negativity within me. I am very critical of my work, and when I met Frank and through his ministry, what he was doing and the comics that he puts out, it was just an automatic, yes, please, I want to be his friend. I want to be his fan. And now, thanks to Mr. Lloyd, I am your daughter, Frank. But don't worry, you're not going to get hit up by child support. My husband says that he's not going to force anybody to help him take care of me, but that he welcomes everybody's help. It takes a tribe, right? It takes a tribe. I am definitely a character, and I am just very glad that I got to meet Frank, and through him that I got to meet this club. And I always appreciate your warm welcomes. And Frank, happy birthday, you old fart. I am so happy that I got to meet you, and that I will perhaps celebrate in the future birthdays. And we'll roast you every single time. Back to you, Madam Table Topics.
All right. Thank you so much. I was really, really glad that Frank actually volunteered himself to be roasted today. I remember writing every time I thought about something, I grabbed my phone and I would write it on my notes. And then this morning I was walking out, and my roommate Janice, who's met Frank, said, "Oh, where are you headed?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to the Hub City Toastmasters to go roast Frank." She goes, "Oh yeah, are you going to mention anything about him jumping out of a car and your dog jumping out of a car?" I went, "Oh my gosh, yes, I've got to write that down." So I wrote that down. I said, "Thank you, Janice. That was going to be probably the highlight of the speech there." So I appreciated that. I'd like to say a few things before we wrap up the meeting and before we get roles for next week. Speaking of Frank, one thing that I left out in the speech, and some of you probably already know this because I've shared it a few times, I'm in a wheelchair, and so whenever I get somewhere, I always have a wheelchair in the trunk of my car, and that stays in the trunk of my car because I have another one at home that I use. So the only way that I can get in and out of my wheelchair in my car is to wait for somebody to come along, and I'll say, "Excuse me, can you help me with my wheelchair?" And 99.9% of the time, everybody drops what they're doing and says, "Absolutely, let me help you." Well, a few months ago, Frank had just joined, probably been a member for 3 or 4 months. And I remember asking a gentleman that was in a rush, he walked by me. I said, "Excuse me," he was in the parking lot here at the library. I said, "Can you help me get my wheelchair out of my car?" He said, "I'm sorry, I don't have time right now." And I was so taken aback. I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure. My apologies. Sorry." And he walked by, got in his truck, and he left. And about a month later, I didn't recognize him, but he's walking out of the building again. And I see him and I say, "Excuse me, can you help me with my wheelchair?" And he says, "I'm sorry, I don't have time right now." And I thought, oh my gosh, it was the same guy that I asked last time. I should have remembered not to ask him. So I came to the meeting and I shared the story with Frank and Phyllis. And at that time, Frank was still being kind of quiet and reserved. And so we invited him to go and eat with us after the meeting, which is something we like to do. We go to the Junction Cafe a few blocks from here. And I said, "Frank, would you like to join us?" He said, "Sure, I'd love to go." I said, "Okay, great." So I said, "If you'd like, I can give you a ride." He said, "Oh, that'd be great. Thank you." So he goes and gets by my car and he puts his satchel in my car. And then I said, "Oh, Frank, would you be able to help me with my wheelchair and put it in the trunk of my car?" And he said, "Lisa, I don't have time right now." I don't know if you can hit the, we're down to 10%.
I hope you didn't mean
I'm
that.
sorry, not sure if you got the punchline, but I asked him, "Could you please help me with my wheelchair?" And he said, "I don't have time right now." And I looked at him and he started laughing. I went, "Oh my gosh, okay, we've got a comedian here," which is great. Once he said that, from then on, I think we've been trying to outdo each other on the jokes, and it's been really great. It's really amazing.